We moving the chains, we changing the game. You know that we moving the chains with Chief. Just stay in your lane, so nothing the same. We steady be moving the chains with Chief.
Welcome back to yet another episode of Moving the Chains with Chief. In this playoff, one thing to say: bye weeks matter. So if both of our top tier or top seeded teams in the A-League did not have a bye, they would have both received L's. Yes, they would have both been sitting home after 1 week. So that goes to show you that being the best throughout the season actually matters. And moving on into that, we have Return of the Dak kicking the Bay Lake Showboats out of the playoffs, a quick exit. But as we move to the other side of the bracket, we had the Commish going against Fully Automatic, which ended in a tie. And in the playoffs, we can't end in a tie. So what happened? The highest seed moved on. So congratulations to Fully Automatic. And let's see what happened this week. I know we're getting a little late on the show, but we have not had any decided teams as of yet. So looking into the B League, Mamba Mentality moved on. He kicked out Kung Fu Kenny. I know he had a really great performance with Kyle Pitts, but that wasn't enough. And as we take a look at Miami Vice, he is still pushing that Cinderella story along, moving on to the next round.
What's up, everybody? Commish here from the future, filling in for the historian for a little bit of history in the making playoff edition. Now, of course, we did finish our first round of the playoffs last week, and our game of the week, in hindsight, was unfortunately mine, ending in an unprecedented tie, or almost unprecedented. While I know the tie did leave a lot of people scratching their heads as to what would happen, this is actually not the first time that it did happen. If we actually look back in 2014, we actually had a tie in the first round of the playoff between newly retired Hal Henson and a team called Forte Shades of Grey, for someone who we're just not going to mention. Now, their match did end in a tie at 127 points apiece, and that was the first time we ever had a tie in a playoff match. And just like happened in this most recent playoff match, the higher seed, which was Hal, advanced on to the semifinals. So although it seems pretty shocking, it did happen at least one time before. However, Zeno did make a little bit of history with that match. He now ties the record for the narrowest matchup win at 0 point differential, which is obviously mathematically the narrowest of win than you can ever have. So Hal and Zeno now both sit atop of that record book. Next, we look to the second matchup in our main league, and that of course saw Nico falling to the hands of Darren. Darren moving on to the semifinals. Nico now heartbroken once more, but a position he finds himself in all too familiarly. Now, Nico has a very long drought when it comes to the playoffs, and we're not even talking about championships. In the 13 years that he's been in it, he has never made it to a championship game, obviously meaning he's never won a championship, but it goes further than that. Nico has actually never placed in the top 3 in the final standings of any season, which is the longest drought of any team owner. Sitting in second place on that drought is Nick, who also retired this year as well. His streak sits at 11, and we don't know how long that's going to continue. Past that, the person sitting in third on that list is Alex at 9, although he ended that streak last year with his second place finish in the championship game. So, Nico, the drought continues for you. Not only are you looking for some championships, you gotta at least place in the top 3. Better luck next year. And lastly, we of course cannot forget about our B League. TLB saw an amazing matchup between Raising Bauer Levels and Mamba Mentality that saw a huge point total. And we're talking huge when we compare it to any of our matches, not just playoffs and not just TLB. Obviously, their matchup combined for 431 points, which makes it not just the highest playoff match in TLB, but actually the highest combined points that we've seen in any match in TLB this year. But again, that history is still fairly new. To really understand the gravity of this, we have to look at the main league. Now, if we compare that to the main league, this actually would be the third highest scoring game of all time, and it would qualify for the highest combined playoff score in history of both leagues. Now, this does give you a little bit of background into some of the history of TLFL. We do say it is the highest single matchup play, but up until 2013, we actually did a double week during our championship and playoff matches, so those were all played over the course of 2 weeks, so obviously those would naturally have a higher score, but it would be the highest single playoff matchup in history. Unfortunately, it didn't happen in the main league, so we're not going to count that towards the record book, but it just goes to show you just how many points were scored in that match. It would sit atop the playoff combined score list if it had happened in the main league. So Mama Mentality, congrats on the big win. Kenny, unfortunately, sorry for the big loss, but hey, at least you made a little bit of history along the way. Now, enough of the history that's been made. Let's go ahead and take a look at the future into round 2. And for that, we're going to throw it over to past Commish. Commish, how you feeling? You know, losing is never easy, but comes with the territory. So, formally, congratulations to Sino on the tie to help you advance onto the next round, which means I'm not going to be there, which just means it's going to be an extra tough edition of Playoff Preview. Now, looking ahead to round 2 of the playoffs, our semifinal rounds in the main league, we have our top 4 seeds all advancing based on the results of their matchup, meaning the first matchup we're going to be taking a look at is our number 1 seed, Beast Mode, against number 4 seed, Return of the Dak. Now, this one is set to be an exciting matchup, especially when you look at the results of the season from these top 4 teams. Now, 3 of these teams seem very alike, and one seems like a little bit of an outlier. When we look at Return of the Dak, Orlando Leones, and Fully Automatic, all 3 of those teams are in the top 4 when it came to total points scored. However, the outlier is going to be our reigning champ, Beast Mode, who, although has the number 1 seed, was actually in the bottom 3 when it came to points for, and statistically had the easiest strength of schedule all season long. Now, of course, the schedule gets a lot tougher in the playoffs. We have just the best of the best remaining, so will Beast Mode be able to win again for a back-to-back trip to the championship game, or is it time for Return of the Dak to finally see if they can make it all the way? The playoff push is finally here. Gentlemen, best of luck to you both. And of course, we'll look at our second matchup. That's going to be with number 2 seeded Orlando Leones and number 3 seeded Fully Automatic. Now, if you guys remember, this was my choice for rivalry of the season, and I might have foretold this prophecy and kind of doomed myself a little bit earlier, but I am excited for this matchup nonetheless. Yes, there was a little bit of chirping and talking earlier in the season, and we're hoping some of that fire does come out, but more importantly, loving to see that controversial trade and some of those pieces going head-to-head once again, and seeing if those two are going to make a difference in this outcome compared to their earlier matchup that happened earlier in the season. That earlier matchup happening in Week 11 saw the Orlando Leones taking the W, but will they be able to win when it counts, or will Fully Automatic take his auto-drafted team all the way to the ship? Only one way to find out. You gotta play these games. Best of luck, fellas, but might be pulling for one of you guys over the other, but let's just get 2 ties in a row. Why not?
Oh, don't cry, are you?
Now, looking over into TLB, we have 2 other exciting matchups happening as well. We look at number 1 seeded Full Monty going against number 4 seeded Mama Mentality. Mama Mentality coming off that monster game in round 1. Hopefully, he's looking to replicate that in order to help him advance to the first ever TLB championship game. But our number 1 seed is still there, earned that number 1 seed quite early in the year, had the best record in the league. So this team knows how to win. Let's see if they can win when it counts. Definitely already a couple of nerves happening heading into this matchup, but nerves just means you're excited. Again, only one way to find out who wins it, and that's to play these games. Gentlemen, best of luck to you both, hoping for another exciting and fiery matchup. And finally, in our second matchup of the semifinal rounds in TLB, we have our Cinderella story continuing. Number 6 seeded Miami Vice against number 2 seeded Goldroy, the dude with James Harden's picture as his profile pic. That, again, is going to be an exciting matchup. I know there are a lot of people pulling for one side, but you cannot count out our number 2 seed. They earned the number 2 seed for a reason, had an awesome season on the year, put up a good amount of points, but let's see again if they can win when it counts, or will this Cinderella story continue all the way to the finals? Gentlemen, best of luck to you both. Hoping again for another exciting matchup. And that's going to wrap up our playoff push. Don't want to dwell on it for too long, seeing as though I am no longer in this playoff push as well. But again, we hope that you guys have an awesome matchup. Make sure you set your lineups, even if you are not in the tournament anymore, even if you've been eliminated from the regular playoffs and the consolation ladder, whether it's winner or loser. We are hoping that you guys are setting your lineups and keeping this thing competitive all the way through. Just 2 more weeks until this is all said and done. So cherish these moments, because these moments will be going away soon. I know I'm definitely cherishing the last few moments that I have setting my lineup. That's it for me. Chief, back to you in the studio.
Honestly, that is all this week. Our games of the week are all of our playoff matchups. If you're in the toilet bowl, hey, try to avoid losing. That's all I got for you today. Take it away.
We moving the chains, we changing the game. You know that we moving the chains with Chief. Just stay in your lane, so nothing the same. We steady be moving the chains with Chief. Go for the range, just doing my thing. You know that we moving the chains with Chief. We moving the chains with Chief. Talking my shit at the end of the week. We moving the chains. We